Monday, July 13th. Heavy rains in past days had caused the swamp to fill up, and these surveyors had to jump across the pond to get to the other side. They left orange stakes and some sawhorses so they wouldn't get run over before there was a chance to build what they had surveyed for. From my balcony, I watched the little cat dig a muddy trench between the orange stakes and another worker define the edges with his shovel. It looked like it might be a single parking space. But for who? I was surprised as little cat made trip after trip to deposit the dirt somewhere else that the mud didn't cause more problems for it. Oliver the AL foreman and Dave the electrician chat about how to get this done in the mud. Later that day, workers came back with wood planks and started to build something. Few hours later, the frame and what looked like the edges of guttering had been installed. You still need curbs and gutters, even for one parking place. Soon I heard the churning and rumble of the concrete truck. I looked out, and the guys are filling the curbs and gutters. It's kind of a tight fit in that corner. As they got near the balcony to the wood shop, they ended up using a little cat scoop to get concrete around the bend. Finally, they were finished, and the noise calmed down, and they all went away. Then this guy showed up. Calling down from my balcony, I found out his name is Harrison, and he owns Legacy Tree Company, and he is going to take down an unhealthy tree in the outside Mikasa area. An arborist told me that if a tree cannot get nutrients up to the canopy, it puts out suckers at the bottom. It has a will to live, but not in a great way. Harrison cut out a lot of the limbs facing the south, so when he pulled the tree down going the other way, it wasn't quite so heavy or bulky. Some wedges and some maneuvering at the base of the tree, and he was ready to bring it down. Harrison had tied a rope up to one of the top wedges in the tree. He backed up 100 feet to the north and started pulling on the rope, and it wobbled back and forth and then fell. Other than having a cat and driver on standby, Harrison did this all himself. Now came the harder part, pulling this tree through a narrow opening, kind of like an elephant through a keyhole, but he kept hacking off branches along the way so it would go. Gradually, it was pulled beneath our balcony and out to the edge of the roadway. Harrison came back after the holiday weekend and cut it all up and hauled those parts away. Another day, these three workers came and worked for a couple hours to attach these white cones to the building. They explained that they were exhausts for the 3 big boilers in the maintenance level. I told them if the building started shuddering like a spaceship, I was coming to find them. Walking up the south side of AL, Don took a picture of this short frame running the length of the building. It will be a bunco wall. Cats of all sizes have been bringing in dirt to level the area in front of the atrium on the AL building. Residents who have been so worried about the swamp by door 8 will be relieved. It's getting leveled out and will soon have gravel added. Looking at the IL building, the north side has been gray coated. On this rainy day, I can see my crew is still working out there. As much as I miss them, the guy in orange is not throwing thrash below my balcony anymore. But we can still wave at each other as I go by. Along the north retaining wall, they have connected the 3 concrete bases with electricity for the new light poles. I was finally able to tour the new healthcare demo Phase 2 with Doc. This is what's left of the healthcare dining room, just the drapes on the windows. I heard rustling above my head. When I looked up, I saw pine trees moving in the breeze and blue sky. Taking out walls seems to give you instant skylights. This pile of silver and blue is heating and air conditioning ducts to be installed. Doc said it'll be a real job to unspaghetti the ceiling. Turquoise is optics for the first part of healthcare, and there's electrical, but the rest have to go. Jackhammering has been driving everybody crazy for days, but now you can see why. There's trenches moving in every direction, and now they're putting rebar down to fill them back up. Big white square on the far wall separates the demo from the completed healthcare. You think it's noisy for you? Gundi and Rodney still have to work at the end of this mess. Cats continue to dig holes for sewer placement and getting the level just right, so when you flush it goes where you want it. Standing inside healthcare demo, you can see the IL building. My guys have put on the first layer of color and the first layer of colored stucco this day. Weather has been erratic, some days rainy, some days dry, but it makes for some really cool pictures again. Inside the Sandia dining room, the floor is down and they are installing sunshades on the west windows so it won't get too hot in there. On my therapy day, I put my camera up to the window and started filming and scared these guys on the other side. They are the ones that put the pipes in the trenches and make sure all the fittings are tight before the cats cover them up again. There doesn't seem to be a lot of clearance for the arm of the cat making all these dirt piles inside the healthcare demo. On 4th of July, we joined our extended family for a barbecue and fireworks at the end of the evening. Several neighbors got in the act. They were bright and noisy, and the air was thick with the smell of sulfur. Just in case you didn't get outside, thought I'd capture a few. Really needed to have been playing patriotic music while they were showing. I'll have to figure out how to do that.
Hello everyone. We're here on the north side of Independent Living. It's Wednesday, July 14th, 9:30 in the morning, 75 degrees outside and hazy. The watchword for today is no change. There's not much change going on this side of the building. The Gypcrete operation seems to be gone, although their pool is still here, and I noticed that the duckies are gone. I hope they're all right. I hope nothing happened to them. As we come around the east end here, we can see that there's a skyjack putting up a load of doors into the building. And on the south side of the east end, there's white insulation over about half of the building. Looking down the alleyway going to the kitchen, I see that there are trucks parked across the road. So I guess there'll be no dinner today because the trucks can't get to the kitchen. The hatch is open. The stucco and coloring seems to be completed all the way down to the ground this week. As we look down here at the end, we can see a guy in orange working on one of the balconies. He seems to be doing stucco around the trim. The monster's broom is still there, and as I look along the north edge of the roof, I can see that there are little tiny ducky tracks following alongside those moose tracks. I hope the duckies catch up to that moose. There's no news from Ingenuity this week, although NASA engineers continue to be surprised at how useful Ingenuity is turning out to be. So we'll return to spin in baseball. We plan to wrap up this topic in the next couple of weeks. So, briefly reviewing, there are more than 6 kinds of different so-called fastballs. We've covered the 4-seam, the 2-seam, which breaks toward the throwing arm, the sinker, which sinks, the cutter, which breaks toward the glove arm. There are also off-speed fastballs, the split finger, the forkball, and perhaps others, which look like fastballs but aren't. That is, they're off-speed, they have very little backspin, and apparently even drop as they near the plate. There are several, really a whole spectrum of curveballs. The 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, the 1 o'clock, 7 o'clock, the slider, various speeds, and so forth. The jargon about pitches is frequently complex and misleading. Fastballs are fast and usually have backspin. Curveballs are slower because of the difficult biomechanics of throwing them and have topspin. Fastballs appear to rise because of backspin. Curveballs appear to drop because of the topspin. Horizontal movement on any of these pitches, toward or away from the batter, is caused by tilt of the spin axis away from the horizontal. Generally, more tilt of the spin axis means more horizontal movement. Faster spin means more movement. More speed on the pitch gives the batter less time to decide and a later break on the pitch. By the way, the term break is a misnomer. It describes the batter perception. In fact, the trajectory on all these pitches is smooth, entirely smooth. Let's move on to some other spin and aerodynamic effects. Spin about the axis pointing from the pitcher to the batter doesn't produce movement. Think of the way a bullet spins. So this kind of spin is wasted. So let's talk about seams. Generally, bigger seams mean more movement. On fastballs, that is, not fastballs, but fast balls with lots of spin, the orientation of the seams, that is, a 2-seam versus a 4-seam, doesn't seem to affect the flight aerodynamics or movement on the ball. On slower balls, especially the knuckleball, which is thrown with very, very little spin, only about a quarter of a rotation from the pitcher to the plate, variable air resistance from the seams causes erratic and unpredictable movement. That's enough for now. We'll finish up next week with a discussion of spitballs and spin statistics. For now, back to assisted living. Back here at assisted living, the most noticeable change is going on right now with the paving of the asphalt that you can see there right alongside the retaining wall. There's also a bunch more sidewalk concrete that's been poured, and you can see that there are actually 4 trucks full of asphalt lined up there ready for the paving. The lobby area has been cleaned up some more, except for those 2 big boxes which are there. I don't know what they are. And as we come around and look back down toward the west end, you can see that there's a guy up on the top of the retaining wall. Looks like he's working on the irrigation sprinkler system. And now we're going to jump over to the back side. And we can see that this area is in shade again. That shade structure has been completed, and lo and behold, the roof is in the sun. The east end of this area is starting to look pretty good. However, the west end still looks like a bit of a mess. We can hope that after the paving is done, maybe they'll get to work on this area. Looking back, you can see they've started to build a fence, it looks like, around that sidewalk area. There's still yellow on the Solaria area. The sidewalk is finished around the maintenance area, and we'll get a long last look at the paving